Okay, so I watched the first episode of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. It is pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be. No more, no less. Believe it or not, I am going to get the positives out of the way first. Yes, I'm going to give you a few positives about this episode. Shocking. The episode is called Kids These Days. I think the action sequences were pretty well done. The acting is decent. The visual effects are good. The sets are impressive in terms of scale. I'm not really a fan of some of the design elements of the ship interior, but just generally very well done. And there was even a few places where I thought the musical score was really good. And the final positive I'm going to give this episode is that it was significantly better than Section 31. Which really is a very low bar, because Section 31 was pretty much the worst thing I've ever watched in my life. I also thought this episode was better than Discovery's first episode, though not as good as Strange New World's first episode, which was decent enough. In tone, the show appears to be sort of halfway between Discovery and Strange New Worlds. A little bit of light, a little bit of levity, and a little bit of dark as well. I noticed also that the ship, the Athena, is designed to look a lot like a comm badge from above. And they're wearing these comm badges, which they're exactly the same as the ship design, basically. It's a bit of an odd choice, but there you go. So the first 13 minutes of the episode I found to be a drag, a real chore. I found it unpleasant and quite dull and boring, those opening 13 minutes before the opening credits. So we see Caleb. As a young boy, he's separated from his mother by Starfleet, specifically Captain Ake, because his mother was involved with the criminal Newsbraka, and the child is to become a ward of the Federation, basically. But very shortly after, in an extremely unbelievable scene, this little boy escapes custody and the incompetent Starfleet lose him. It's just pathetic, right? So then it moves forward in time, and Caleb is grown up, still looking for his mother, and he gets captured. He's a badass now, quite a tough and capable guy. Meantime, Ake has been recruited to be the chancellor of the newly reopened Starfleet Academy. The Athena is a ship that docks at San Francisco sometimes. She agrees, so long as she can help Caleb, and she convinces him to join Starfleet. I'm kind of skipping along the various plot beats here just to get to the point, but she feels guilty for separating him from his mother, and she agrees to help him find her. Now, a young man's quest to find his lost mother is not especially unique. I don't think it's strong enough for Star Trek. It's not that interesting to me. And as a season-long character arc, I just don't think it's good enough. There's no depth or intrigue to something like that. Firstly, we were introduced to his mother very briefly, and then she's dragged off to prison, where she's also escaped from. By the way, she escapes from prison, and it's just ridiculous. Everybody's escaping from these prisons, right? Even Caleb could do it as an infant. It's just daft. But we didn't get to know her. We didn't get to know the mother. We know nothing about her, so you just don't care. It's got no emotional impact. And then Caleb turned out to be an angry, resentful young man. But having said that, he did become very capable, very strong, resourceful, independent, and tough. So although it's sad that a child gets separated from their mother, in the context of who he became, it could have been worse, I guess. I mean, he turned out okay. Wayward, sure, but he is tough and independent and resilient, right? So why am I supposed to really care that much? And I think it also speaks to modern television, that the cut and thrust of this series is focused on my childhood trauma. Incidentally, never once is his father mentioned in this episode, just his mother. So again, the fatherless home trope. I guess it must have been Immaculate Conception. The episode itself has no main science fiction story, no science fiction element to it at all. Okay? They go to the ship, the characters are introduced, they talk about who they are and what they're all about, and then Newsbraka shows up, because reasons, in order to create some conflict, some arbitrary conflict in the story, because the story needs it. He captures the ship, and the cadets have to work together to tech a solution and get the ship out of danger. And then Braca confronts Caleb. We don't know anything really about Braca, incidentally. So it's like, again, he's a villain with no impact. And the only strong aspect of that character, really, is Paul Giamatti's performance, which is very good. So Caleb and Braca fight. Braca escapes, and then they go to San Francisco, and the episode ends. There's no Star Trek moment. There's no higher philosophical, thought-provoking, moral or ethical dilemma or situation. There's no interesting sci-fi concept. There's nothing really original about it. So, for example, Star Trek The Next Generation's encounter at Farpoint, its first episode, introduced the entire cast, but also it had its own story about how humanity was on trial by the godlike being Q. And meantime, there was a mystery concerning Farpoint Station, and it turns out that the station is an alien life form that's being held captive in order to fulfill the wishes of Groppler Zorn and the Bandy people. It's a good sci-fi story. Now, to be fair, Encounter at Farpoint does come in for some criticism because it's a bit sluggish. There are some pacing issues. But it was the first television episode of Star Trek since 1969, so we should probably cut it some slack there. DS9's Emissary, I think, is Star Trek's best pilot. Benjamin Sisko, a widower and a father with his own trauma, the death of his wife, capably takes command of the former Cardassian station Deep Space Nine, delving into the politics of the Bajoran occupation and the mess that was left behind. He's tasked with rebuilding the station as a centre of commerce and a major galactic hub for Bajor. And he's told that he's the emissary of the prophets. And there's a mystery concerning the wormhole aliens, the Celestial Temple. Now, they find this wormhole, and he has to explain to these aliens what linear time is, how linear time works. So, fascinating sci-fi stuff there. And, of course, then there's a battle with the Cardassians, but there's lots going on there. Voyager's pilot, Caretaker, great episode, fantastic pilot. This is how you do a pilot. Captain Janeway is searching for a lost Maquis ship in the Badlands, and they go there, they get thrown to the other side of the galaxy into the Delta Quadrant, where a powerful being called the Caretaker is looking after the Ocampa. He's protecting them, they're dependent on him, and he's dying and he's looking for a mate unsuccessfully. And Janeway has to make the rather controversial decision to prevent the Caretaker technology from falling into the wrong hands. So she destroys the Caretaker array and they get stranded in the Delta Quadrant. And so the two crews, the Maquis crew and the Starfleet crew, have to work together on Voyager to get home. These pilots had their own independent stories that were really strong on their own merits. But this Starfleet Academy pilot didn't really have its own story. It was merely an introduction to the characters and Caleb's backstory, his motivation, basically, about his mother. And there's a space battle situation that the crew have to escape from in a very paint-by-numbers fashion. And that's that. That's all there is. Okay, there's no meaning. There's nothing interesting here. It's all style over substance. And it's riddled with the usual high school, college, TV show cliches, right? So there's the jock character, and the first thing he does is pick on the sensitive Klingon. Right? We have a sensitive Klingon. And he likes art and beauty and this sort of stuff, right? So, and the main character has to come in and rescue him from the bully and put him in his place. And you've seen this exact kind of exchange a million times on other television shows. But nothing about this moment really feels genuine because it is so tired and cliched and predictable that I actually thought they weren't being serious and that the characters were going to burst out laughing or something. And also, what's with the captain sitting in her captain's chair in such an unprofessional manner? What was all that about? What is this? Now, Robert Picardo, as the EMH, he is good in this. So he's the EMH from Voyager, the original one. He's still got it, and he's given some good stuff to do as well. But there's a cadet that he treats, and she's swallowed her comm badge, and it's supposed to be funny. What? How would that even happen? How could she even do that? It's like I'm watching a kid's cartoon. That's the kind of intellectual level we're at here. Finally, and I'm going to ramble on this for a bit, so forgive me, but it's a real bugbear for me, so I'm going to say this. there was an odd phenomenon on Star Trek Discovery which continues here, which is you can never remember the names of the secondary characters on the show. I certainly struggled with it, and I wasn't the only one, because it was brought up several times, and they did try to address this in the second season of Discovery. There was about 5 or 6 characters who were very forgettable and made no impression. And you were told their names, but A, the names they were given were terrible to the point where they were just too obscure to be memorable, and B, the characters were so interchangeable that they didn't stand out enough to be remembered. And also, oftentimes the sound mix on modern shows is really bad, and some dialogue is mumbled or it's just sort of garbled a little bit. And if the dialogue is delivered too quickly, and especially if there's a bit of incidental music in the background, you can miss stuff. You can mishear stuff. This is why so many people nowadays watch TV with the subtitles on. I eventually learned this lady's name was Detmer. It took a while, I'm not going to lie. But this one, her name never went in, because I can't pronounce this. It's like in modern Star Trek, they sometimes try too hard with making interesting names for characters. I'm not really sold on the name Nala Ake for the captain. I know she's an alien, she's half Lanthanite, like this character from Strange New Worlds. Did I tell you about the time traveling doctor? Feck off. But names like Captain Catherine Janeway, Benjamin Sisko, Jean-Luc Picard, Jonathan Archer, I'm not forgetting those names, okay? They are memorable. So, how to introduce a character well, so that their name is not just in one ear, out the other. Because we've all been there, right? You're introduced to someone, and 2 seconds later, you forgot their name. And you're like, sorry, what's her name again? Harry Kim is introduced in Quark's Bar. There's a fun interaction there. You get to know him a little bit, his personality. It's a good scene, and then Tom Paris comes in and rescues him. He gets him out of an awkward situation with Quark. And then we follow Tom and Harry to sickbay. There's a scene there. And then we follow them to Janeway's ready room. And they have a meaningful conversation, and character names are stated again to reinforce them. There's some banter, some good dialogue. It's another good scene. And now those names are locked in. I'm not going to forget them, because I associate the name with a personality and not just a face. There's an emotional connection now, and that is what good writing is. Bad writing is what they do on modern Star Trek. Case in point, once again, we have a bridge crew being introduced to us on the bridge, and this is how that scene goes. This is the first time we've met them, we're told their names, and none of them have even spoken yet. Okay, this is the first time I've met them. So the captain walks around the bridge and says the name of each character. She addresses them one by their name. So this is how the scene felt to me. Lieutenant Slandern, Drish, Ensign, that may as well have been how that scene went in terms of the impression it made upon me and those characters. What was the point of stating their names in such a quick-fire fashion when all of those names are forgotten immediately? And at least 2 of those names were so bad, they were basically incomprehensible. What did she call this guy? Narish? Darish? Grish? I don't know. No idea. No idea. Was his name Hale? Or Kale? What was her name? Ya? Ya. Was that her name? Really? I know nothing about these people. I don't care about them. So how am I ever going to remember their names? Honestly, I think some of these characters on these shows need to start wearing name badges. That's how badly the show is being written. As for the cadets, yeah, I'm going to remember Caleb. No problem there. Her name is Genesis. That's a memorable name. No problem. But I have to confess, I forgot all the other character names already. I can't even remember what the name of number 1 was. The half Klingon, half Jem'Hadar woman. I already forgot her name. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there, because continuing to talk about such a pointless and worthless hour of television is really just putting me in a bad mood. I cannot believe I have to review more of these episodes. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.